scientific method cannot justify the scientific method. Therefore, it itself is a dogmatic religious presupposition.
Brzezinski model, the Technocratic model, is much more interested in the incremental, slow-kill, Fabian approach to bringing technocracy into being. So they're not going to send Homeland Security troops to round you up and put you in a FEMA camp. They'd much rather promote everybody being enmeshed in video games, the Disney gulag, the virtual reality gulag, all this kind of stuff is a much better FEMA camp in your home. They don't need the FEMA camp. It's too messy. It's a big ordeal. And so all the nonsense of all the patriot crap on the radio, that's not going to happen. They don't need to. The shadow global government is already here, And as we said, it's in the latter stages of the mopping up process to move it into the next phase, i.e. between two pages of the next page. Once you have atheism, there's not really any foundation. Anything can come and go. Throughout the course of philosophy, we can see in history, when you divorce anthropology from this kind of a revealed framework that we're going to talk about, what you get is basically disaster, and you get things like reductionistic materialism and so forth that ultimately wipe out the notion of what it is to be a human person. And when there's no notion of a human person, then things like free will, volition, these all fall away by the wayside because they're ultimately illusory. If the world is a determined materialistic process, then free will is illusory, and so is consciousness.
nerds. 30,000 Chad nerds. 30,000.
Can you hear me, nerds? 40,000 of you. Live.
30,000 Chad nerds.
Nerds! Are we live? you go.
Now you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Now you hear me?
Yes. If only your antics were live.
Ah.
There we go. Let me turn this off. So you can once again be a star like you want to be. Star.
Yeah. That's all I got. I'm a big, bright, shining star. What's that? What movie is that from?
What?
Boogie Nights.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Remember that? He's like, I am a star. I'm a big, bright, shining star. He's got like his crazy mom. That's actually a decent movie for being such a degenerate movie. I'm a big, bright, shining star.
There we go. Now we can see beautiful glowing faces. I can never get the light right in here.
The thing is, no matter how much you wipe the camera, you can't wipe the ugly at it, you know?
You talking about on your screen?
Ooh, burn.
What's up,
Cracking
Ian?
young.
Let me make sure I got the right crap turned on here. Multi-output. Yep, there we go. All right, we finally got it going. I'm always late as usual. You can always count on me to be consistently late with Madman Tristan joining us. 280 nerds as we start tonight's breakdown. He's losing it. Tristan, the vegans are triggered this week.
Dude, this is probably one of the most hardcore vegan triggering weeks ever. And we only talked to that guy for like less than 2 minutes. He didn't even debate, but they're so pissed, man. It's like we swatted a wasp's nest or something. They're swarming.
And he's tagged you like every day, like 10 times a day in everything he posts.
This has to remind me how much he owned me, right? Like that's why he has to tag me 20 times and DM me constantly. Twitter tagging. I blocked him on Twitter and Instagram because I was just sick of the tagging and the DMing. But I'm not really sure what his narrative is now. But I haven't watched any of his videos. But I think he's made about 3 videos in the last few days. I think he's done like 10 hours of streaming about our 10 minutes that he was even on my live stream.
I couldn't believe he did a 6-hour stream immediately after leaving our little tit for tat. Like, dude, you don't have nothing else going on that you're going to spend 6 hours talking about the 10 minutes that we interacted and you said that a informal fallacy is not a logical fallacy, which is pretty funny.
Well, I mean, I don't get it, man. You did it. You asked him if he had any education. He basically said no.
I Googled it. He literally said he Googled it.
I Googled something. Dude, that was one of the strangest encounters I've had with a vegan yet. And the fact that he was so adamant that he wanted to come and debate me. And he was taunting. He made like 3 taunt videos. And I I didn't even watch the taunt videos. I was going to watch them with him so we could respond to like whatever, straw man he tried to pull.
Yeah.
But he didn't even want to bring an argument. I don't really understand. But I guess what I'm seeing from the vegan comments after the fact is the narrative that's being woven is we pushed that. We were so scared of Ask Yourself. We were just so afraid of
Even
of
though
his
we've already
superior.
had debate with that, we were scared. Sure.
We're so scared, even though we've already debated Ask Yourself. And he's been begging for he's been begging for a rematch for what, 2 years now?
Yeah.
Ask Yourself. And that's because he knows he won, right? You beg for a rematch and because you know you won. But yeah, what was I going to say? There was a, the narrative seems to be that I'm getting from the vegans. The message seems to be that I'm bald man bad seems to be the main argument. And the other arguments are, I muted him in our debate. We didn't even debate. I muted him because he was saying nothing. And he kept saying, oh, well, so you're cooking out. You're going to cook out. You're going to wuss out. And I'm just like, dude, you're fucking muted. So anyways, I was muting him, even though we weren't even debating. And I guess that was that made me lose the debate. That didn't even happen. The delusion is just next level right now. I don't really know how to keep up, but it's exciting. I'm glad to be on their minds. We got some super fans. It seems most of my super fans are from the vegan world. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe I did 3 nights in a row of open lines and not a single vegan called in.
I thought you had one vegan call in. Didn't you have one?
You're right, one, but she was really cool. She was
okay.
One of the.
By the way, thank you for that fat super chat you did on the last stream. I was starting to get a really neck crick headache going. As kind of part of the reason I cut that stream quick. I had some other things I had to go do, but just testing it out. Look at that. That was that last super chat we got from old Tristan himself.
Good old Tristan, old bald ass Tristan.
Bald ass Tristan, who is nutrient deficient from his meat serial killer Hannibal Lecter diet.
Yes.
And all the vegans are buff and I'm bigger than you and I'm stronger than you.
And vegans, no, there's no bald. What's amazing is there's no such thing as a bald vegan, right? There's not a single bald vegan.
I mean, 1 inch herbivore. I keep calling him inch herbivore, but that may be construed as a penile attack. But 1 inch herbivore. Inch herbivore, he has a bald head, as far as I could tell. I mean, maybe
no, but that's different. Yeah, and also Dr. Greger, right there. That's different. That's from nutrient optimization and high testosterone. Mine's from cholesterol and lack of veganism and lack of logic and denial of science. Right? These are the arguments that
you have. You have Hannibal Lecterism in you.
That's right. I got the ism.
Lectarian.
I got that Hannibal Lecterism.
Clarice. Do you like to eat the meat? Do you like the meat, Clarice?
I don't know. At this point, I will wait it out and we'll see if these people want to call in. I mean, that dude's still welcome to come on, whatever that fag's name was, Lifting Vegan Logic. I forget his real name. But he's welcome to come on. Like, you can come and debate anytime. I could do open what's it called? Open lines. I'll do another open lines probably next weekend. So any vegans, you guys want to come in? You guys want to debate? Or if it's just, friendly calls.
The girl that we were laughing at calling Marina Abramovich's daughter, Vaginica.
She was cool, man.
She messaged me. Vaginica had messaged me too.
She emailed me and she came on. She was the one who came on.
Is she the one that came on?
Yeah.
Oh.
She was actually pretty cool. Like she was mellow. We talked about. I mean, I disagree with her. I think she's kind of delusional about some things. I think she's completely wrong about a lot of things.
But she wasn't psychotic.
No, she was not psychotic, and she was amiable. She could have a conversation, right? So she got more balls than Lifting Vegan Logic. The way that he did it was just so funny. The way he did that, like, this dude knew damn well that we're not about to debate Ask Yourself again, unless there's some extreme circumstance to make it extra worth it and extra entertaining. But there's no point in it, right? And he's not welcome here. I know he's been stalking you for 2 years. I had to block him on YouTube, Instagram, I think Twitter as well, just because of the incessant tagging and trying to challenge me to rematches. So what's his face knew that we weren't about to have Ask Yourself on, yet he brought him anyways. I just thought it was funny. It's kind of like when you're like sixth grade or something, and it's like he picked a fight and then tried to bring his big brother to the fight. but his big brother is a giant pussy also. So it's kind of didn't really work out.
My vagina's bigger than you. It's wider than you. And it's stronger than you. Inch Kegelvor. By the way, shout out to Mark Passio. Shout out to Mark Passio.
Mark Passio, when you coming on, man? That's the next one. Let's get the Mark Passio debate. Mark, come on. We know you're huge fans. Come on, we can debate your natural law or Freemasonic law or your great work or your widow's son's peak or whatever.
The great work of the widow's peak.
The great work of your widow's son's peak, or your you can bring your Tubal cane and your I don't know. You can even wear your cute little skirt thing, your gay little skirt, where you have your holies of holies underneath it, as you Freemasons call it. You got your 2-ball cane underneath that.
It's a 2-ball candy cane, okay?
Come and find out.
Candy cane.
No, you have no idea how strong I am on a vegan diet.
You want to find out? Come at me.
Find out. Go find, dude. Best discovery ever, though. Maybe we should just watch that right now. Mark Passio's got a band.
No,
I don't know if you
can't
guys
play
know.
his music. He'll copyright strike it.
You can't copyright strike if you play his music. It's not copyrighted.
No, but if you play somebody's clip, they can.
Let it be known that Jay Dyer is afraid to play.
I'm afraid.
But let it be known that Jay Dyer has
I'm passive aggressive. I'm a passive aggressive male.
Yeah, Passio the bong. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see any other vegan debates on the horizon. There's no legitimate debaters out there in the vegan world. Like their best thing is vegan gains and ask yourself. They think that that's like the cream of the crop.
Okay, so you know, Tristan, really, when I was able to Google a little bit, and I read a bunch of scientific papers, and I realized that they're peer reviewed, and then I decided that I had an OnlyFans account that was just sitting there, and so now, didn't he put his junk on OnlyFans now?
He did. I mean, that's according to a screenshot of Twitter.
No, I'm talking about you did it wrong's video. I ain't gonna go look at vegan gains as vegetables.
Yeah. No, I've fortunately have not seen it yet, but not yet, but I don't plan on seeing it at all. But yeah, I guess he did. He's gone next level. He's gone full social media fentanyl on it. He's up on the OnlyFans.
Oh man.
I can't imagine doing that.
I think that you kind of got to the bottom of it when you've mentioned many times the fact that a lot of the people who grew up that age of the millennial and younger, they have been just raised on devices. And so everything is on the table. Everything is normalized, basically.
Yeah. Well, then even the social interactions are just so fake. And I mean, imagine, we pulled that vegan on the other day up until the ask yourself debacle and then the stupid weaselly games he tried to play when that happened. I would say we were pretty dang kind to him. And I was asking him questions, trying to get him loosened up. But he's just sitting there looking around, looking at his phone. I think he's like 22, 21 years old. He's real young. That's that generation, man. Like half of that generation are just zonked, pilled out, nothing in their head except vanity, pride, and it's sad, man.
And the never-ending quest to become an e-celeb.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. I made fun of him because he had that little faded beard. He had this like Jersey Shore, like took him 3 hours to trim his beard. I made fun of him, but then he tried to. I guess he interpreted it as I was talking about his hairdo. And he was very adamant of pointing out that my lack of hair, right? So the bald man bad. So it's so funny to me how like the arguments are basically nil. It's just you're bald man bad, you're a murderer, and that's it. I don't know. I don't know what other vegans are there.
Well, I had a similar experience this week too with the attempt at trying to organize debates with Roman Catholics. Taylor Marshall's former co-honk. I like co-honk. I like co-honk better than co-host.
I'm here with my co-honk, Jay Dyer.
No, co-honk, like honkler.
Like a honky.
Yeah.
Like a cracker.
Tim Gordong Gordon, not Gordon, Tim Gordon, was talking smack and initially wanted to do a debate and said, give me 4 months. I said, 4 months to do a debate? I said, dude, I'll debate you this week. No, I want 4 months. So as I was pondering, all right, I might do this. Then he upped the ante. And he says, no, it must be 4 months, and it must be in person, and you must fly to random Middle America city, and if you don't, you're scared. So this is the third
island in Dubai. We're gonna tag hashtag. We're gonna.
And if you don't show up, you're scared. So do you see the trick here? Because 3 Roman Catholics now have done this, where it's William Albrecht, Trent Horn, and then now Timothy Gordon, where they do this thing where they say, if you don't show up to what I've now upped the ante to an in-person debate, you have chickened out and you're scared. When initially the discussion was, do you want to come on a live stream in the next week or two and do a debate? No. It has to be 4 months from now. Oh, wait, no, now it has to be in person at some random Middle America city. So what they will do is float the idea, taunt you, and then when you don't agree to their ridiculous criteria of how, it needs to be in person. Meanwhile, these people debate on YouTube streams all the time, every day. I mean, we've been in a COVID lockdown where these people are debating every day on live streams, going on live stream. Yeah. But they're too busy to do a debate unless it's in person 4 months from now, which is all just ludicrous. It's all hot air. And the only reason I bring all that up is it is exactly what Vegan Logic did, where he knew that we weren't going to interact with Goofus, and then
which is why when I called him out when he was saying, and I saw your debate with Vegan Gains and that other person, and I specifically stopped and I said, what's the other person's name? Who's the other person? And I don't know if anybody wants to go back and watch it. I specifically stopped at that moment. I said, who? And I made him say his name. He said, ask yourself. I said, okay. And then he brings him in. But it was pure games. And as soon as it was over, he was already tagging me and trying to posture like he had somehow won some battle. It's like, dude, you could still come on and debate. Like there was no battle won by you. I guess maybe there was no battle lost by you either, depending on who you ask. But you can come back on, man. So I don't know. I think he's got a little narcissistic wound. I don't think he's ever debated anybody. He was really, I guess, excited for some reason. But he didn't bring an argument. It's like, you don't even have an argument. And he tried, again, the thing of, we prepared. We had a whole plan. How much did you and I plan, Jay?
I didn't plan anything at all.
Planned nothing. Except we talked, and I was like, dude, the only thing we planned was I told him.
I mean, in 20 years, I don't think I've heard a new atheist type of argument. Right. I don't even remember the last time I've heard one that was.
And the only conversation we had was I told you, you know what? I'm pretty sure he's gonna try to bring Ask Yourself. That'd be really lame if he does. If he does, we'll just kick Ask Yourself, and he can stay, or we can just, we'll just keep streaming without the guys if they're gonna play those gay games. And lo and behold, he did exactly what we predicted.
Yeah. I knew he was going to bring Ask Yourself because in the little bit of the videos I'd watched, he was just repeating these kind of really basic level misunderstandings of the transcendental argument. He was like, you can't use transcendental argument because like you're just assuming the thing that you're talking about, and so it's not a proof, it's just asserting it. But you notice when you listen to Vegan Logic talk, he's a little like he's a little bit of another one of these people who maybe even seems to like he has autism, and that he just kind of like he just sat there scrolling on the phone like this for like 10 minutes straight. He was just doing this.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it was very strange. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're going to come to a debate and you got no arguments and you're not prepared to debate at all, and you can't even, I thought you were lifting Vegan Logic. I thought you had the points. You had the talking points. You were going to wreck me. You're going to destroy me. You can still have a chance, dude. Like, you can still come on and do it, even though you've been spurging out all week, acting like a total goober.
They don't want to debate. They only want to have drama so that they can claim that you pulled out of a debate. This is so stupid. We've been sitting here for how many years have I organized public debates, debated top Muslims, top atheists, you name it, and then they're playing like, he won't debate.
Yeah. Well, and then now he's saying, I demand a debate on a neutral channel. I want to debate on a neutral channel.
What's your response to that, Primal Edge Health? Why will you not debate him on a neutral channel?
Why would I? Right? Like I do how many streams a week? I've done 5 streams in the last like 7 days. All those streams are 3 to 4 hours. Like 3 of those 5 streams, I've done an open line Zoom calls where anybody could call in, right? One vegan called in the whole time. One vegan called in. The rest were all friendlies and just people looking for some help. So, anyways, why would I not do it on a so-called neutral platform? Why would I? What do I have to gain from going and debating this nobody who's obsessed with me, acting like a weird ex-girlfriend in 8th grade?
Yeah, he's got like 3,000 subs, and he's literally tagging you like 5 times a day. It's weird.
But his argument is now, oh, I looked at your metrics, and your channel has very bad engagement. And if I had as many viewers as you, I would have 5 billion views if I had as many viewers as you. And your channel is not popular, and I'm more popular than you. And I looked at the back end, and you're not popular, but I'm popular. As if the numbers have anything. You know, half of my audience tells me all the time that they get auto unsubscribed by YouTube. Yeah. A lot of people who've been long-term viewers and long-term supporters and super chatters tell me, dude, I've been unsubscribed 4 or 5 times. I never get notifications.
Excuse because his channel is
It's like, but they're always revealing what they give a shit about. Oh, I want to be popular. I'm more popular than you. Like that's what they care about. They care about the attention. They care about the fake sense of clout. And they care about the fake ego game of the online world, which I don't give a shit about any of that. Like I'll debate anybody. Any one of you can come on. I'm not going to prep for any of your debates, right? Because the arguments stand on their own. So anyways, that's kind of, I guess, a good summary of the last week of vegan attacks online. All right. Keep them coming, vegans. Keep them coming, please.
Let's get into our stuff tonight. We got a nice fat super chat from Zach. We'll read that here in a minute. If you want to support the show, of course, you know Streamlabs is now the means by which we do the super chats. And that is the link there. And yes, to the people in the chat, if you remember last year, this month was Spooktober at JaysAnalysis, and we covered quite a few spooky things. And we had a lot of fun doing Lost Boys and the whole Sexy Sax Man. That's going to be, I think, a yearly routine, yearly ceremony where we relive and replay and sing the Sexy Sax Man Lost Boys stuff. I still believe. We're not going to do that tonight. Yes, that goofy song in the chat. But tonight we're going to be talking about 2 mind control classics, ones that I've been waiting to get to for a long time, and there's nobody better to get to with than Tristan, the Hannibal Lecter of the Carnosphere. And we're going to be talking about Total Recall and Jacob's Ladder. So I think it would be fun to start with, do you want to start with the goofy or the serious?
I think I'd rather start with the serious and then get into the goofy after. Because I've most recently I just watched Jacob's Ladder today. And it's the first time I've seen
script, dog. Let me flip the script over to the hard
stuff. Flipping. We be script flipping.
Tristan wants
to I was pretty surprised at how much they put in that Jacob's Ladder film.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot revealed there, a lot of real stuff. It seems like the director was rather close to the material and really cared.
Well, this is so I first saw this movie back when it came out not when it came out, maybe around high school time, and it was one of my introductions to MKUltra, that and Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson. So, by the way, we're going to be doing more Spooktober scary streams this week, including serial killers, Antichrist movies, more mind control movies, because there's a ton of there's like 30 mind control movies. We won't do them all, but one last weird point. Shout out to the super fan. We'll call him Simon. So I've been getting lengthy emails from a mega encyclopedic film buff Simon. I don't know who Simon is, but he's sent me some really awesome in-depth lists of movies that he thinks are really poignant in terms of conspiracy stuff, and they're real obscure. A lot of these are like 70s movies I've never heard of, but he really put in the time to make this huge list of recommended movies. So I want to give Simon a shout out and let you know, Simon, whoever you are, yes, we will cover some of those movies. I'm busted as I'm not Coomer now because I said Cummer. We will cover, not Coomer, some of those movies in the next several weeks in Spooktober. But And one last weird point about whoever Simon is. I was looking up these listed films, and they just happen to be a famous director's favorite obscure films. Quite a few of them. So, is Simon a secret famous director? I mean, that's probably not, but I like to entertain in my head that I'm getting fed, movie recommendations from the top of Hollywood in terms of classic directors. I won't say who, but we'll let it simmer as if that's the case. Maybe. Anyway,
It was definitely Kubrick for sure. It was Stanley Kubrick.
so it's somebody already dead. Yes, but Kubrick's not really dead. He's in hiding, and he's going by the name of Simon, and
His consciousness was uploaded into the cloud, and that's what's contacting you. The AI has become so advanced that Kubrick is speaking through it.
One thing that was neat about this that I do want to touch on, I'll let you kick it off on Jacob's Ladder, what you want to mention first, but I did not realize until this last viewing all of the literary and book references. So there's all of these, all of these
right in the
weird
beginning.
books that pop up throughout the movie, and they give you a big clue into what it's about. But I'll let you kick it off here. It's getting too dark in here. I look like a creeper in here in this dark room. I'm gonna have to put some lights on.
Yeah, man. I think. You
Kick it
mentioned
off,
like
Tristan.
literary illusions. One of the first books that you see in it is he's reading. What's it called? The Stranger.
Yes, Albert
Right.
Camus. Yeah.
Albert Camus, which is one of the most. It's very postmodern. The Stranger. It's kind of an exploration of
Existentialist
nihilism.
work. Yep.
Nihilism and postmodern bullshit existentialism, and kind of like a tome on, well, why not just kill your damn self? Right? I mean, that's basically the theme of The Stranger is, well, you might as well just kill yourself.
Yes, so
In an artistic way, of course, because that's super artsy.
Well, it's an immediate foreboding kind of image that lets us know where the movie is going to go, right? So we're already being told from the outset, this is about death and suicide, so something's going on here with life and death. That's what the movie's about. We don't know did he commit suicide? Is he dead? It's not really about that yet, but it's just kind of giving you the ominous impression that the movie is going to be about death. And by the way, I was looking up some of Adrian Lyne's other famous films. He's done a couple of those kind of crappy erotic dramas like Indecent Proposal, Fatal Attraction type stuff, which Fatal Attraction I think is kind of a famous movie. I'm not really into that kind of stuff, but
I've never seen it.
he did do a version of
Aaron
Lolita
Stone.
too, like so Kubrick's Lolita, and then he did Flashdance, which is an odd one, and Jacob's Ladder. So not a whole lot of esoteric precedent for Adrian Lyne films, but we do have over 400 nerds tonight. Welcome everybody. You can support the show with super chats. But so 1990, this was a weird time in movies. We're getting towards the end of the 80s and the onset of the action hero, right? So this is when action hero movies are really going to kick in.
1990, and both of these movies were 1990.
Yeah, that was a weird year for movies. I mean, it's funny to watch Total Recall, by the way, and think about that being the big summer blockbuster. I crack up, like, I think Total Recall is hilarious. Every time I watch it, I laugh more.
So funny.
And to think that this was like the big summer blockbuster movie.
Well, do you think people were laughing in the theater? Like, you laugh now?
No, I think people looked at it like it was, an action blockbuster, right? So it was like, whoa, dude, Arnold kicking butt, that kind of a thing. Because I remember,
the opening scene.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting. The opening scene, it's kind of, these helicopters coming in, and they're carting in. You can't really tell what it is that they're carrying.
Yeah.
There's something that they're hanging below, and it's kind of this visual symbol of the fall almost, right? I mean, you have these helicopters coming down from the sky, and then they're flying over this lake or a body of water, and you could see the reflection, and the reflection is a really big. Windows are a very big motif in the film. Reflections and windows, and which is similar to Total Recall. right? A lot of multi-dimensional aspects to it. The question of whether or not this is a real reality.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That Matrix type.
Yeah,
mirrors are
often associated with the psyche, so definitely going to be relevant in both these movies. And so I like the setting as Vietnam, because if you remember the Douglas Valentine book about the Phoenix program, we think that perhaps there's something related to Phoenix program here, and that will actually come up later. Now, they don't mention Douglas Valentine's book, but they do intimate and hint at it being the Phoenix program. And not just the Phoenix program.
It's a crazy scene. Like, the first scene is nuts. I mean, there's these soldiers, they're hanging out, they're joking with each other, cracking lewd jokes, and then all of a sudden they're engaged in a battle. They get ambushed, but there's something else that happens. There seems to be some sort of almost like an electromagnetic weapon type interference, and they all start frying out and just
So they go into this kind of like disturbia, kind of agitated, almost like possessed type of state. And we later find out that there was an experimental drug used called the ladder. So Jacob's ladder is actually a name for this experimental drug that the chemist will later say sends you straight down the ladder to the bottom pits of hell, namely the deepest parts of the psyche, where the most primal drives are, just pure rage and sort of demonic fervor. And that's why we would say, okay, so this does fit into the Phoenix program, because the whole purpose of the Phoenix program, the real thing, was to create literal sociopathic psycho serial killers. And they use Vietnam as this test bed to terrorize Viet Cong. And then this was dreamt up by the CIA, William Colby, I think, in the Valentine book. And then Dave McGowan's thesis is that some of these guys may have come back to the U.S., and that's where we get some of these serial killers, is that they were perhaps involved in these kinds of programs. Anyway, but yeah, so we're watching Tim Robbins kind of meander about New York and go about his day, and he's having these flashbacks, right? So we know that it's to do with drugs, and like Tristan said, he flashes back to this what we think is a traumatic experience that maybe in the past when he's in Vietnam, and now it's early mid 80s or sometime. It looks kind of 80s. I guess it's supposed to be 1990, but they don't really say the date. It's just after his Vietnam period. But the first thing he sees after you see the Camus book is he looks on the wall in the subway, and he's stuck in this empty subway, and he tries to walk up a different exit, and it's boarded up. He can't get out, so he's stuck in the underworld. And he looks over at this billboard, and it says "Welcome to Hell," or "You're in Hell," or "New York is Hell."
It just says hell, and then something about drugs after it, I think. And let me see if I can find the hell. Here it is.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm like trying to. There it is. Wait. Hell. That's what life can be. Doing drugs, but it doesn't have to be that way. Help is available day or night. Call the drug hotline.
So the drug reference makes it even more relevant, because he's struggling with these flashbacks because of this. We think this terrible component. And then he sees these hobo demons. He sees a hobo demon with a tail. By the way, hobo demons comes up a lot in, John Carpenter, David Lynch.
Yeah, we just talked about that one on the other stream.
He sees the train passengers as demons. Remember this? He looks and he sees like demons and demonic faces in the train car that goes past.
And they just kind of stare at him, right?
Yeah.
They're just kind of staring at him. And everything seems to be glaring at him and reflecting back at him. But then he keeps switching up. He's super disoriented. He can't tell whether he's in a dream or reality. He can't tell whether he's living in a flashback or living in the present time. And he's lost in time to a certain extent.
He's starting to dissociate and lose track of like when and where he is.
Right. And a lot of the dissociation is happening surrounding a relationship that he has with this woman, Jezebel. Yeah. Calls her Jezzy. But they have this interesting conversation about these biblical names.
Yep.
What'd you think about that scene?
Well, the movie's gonna be full of these biblical references, so I'm glad you mentioned that, because his name is Jacob. She's Jezebel. He makes a joke about Jezebel and kind of that she appears to be the evil woman who broke up or is somehow involved in this marriage split, right? Because he's got an ex-wife that we find out about, And then Tim Robbins has this picture of Macaulay Culkin, ironically, and he's lost his son, right? So we know he's been traumatized by both Vietnam and the loss of his son. So we know we're dealing with a guy who's got a damaged, traumatized psyche. And then we find out that this woman that's in his life, this girlfriend, is intentionally referred to as Jezebel, as this evil figure. So she's got something to do with what's going on here. And he starts having these kind of weird freakouts that she's a demon or demonic. And it's almost like the names in the movie are going to start giving you clues to good guys, bad guys.
Yeah, there's even a scene where they're at that party and he's drinking, and he seems to go into a kind of a flashback that might have been triggered by the lights. So there's the strobing lights. Yeah. And the strobing
That's
lights
a great
get
point.
more
I
and
didn't
more
even think
intense.
about that. That's what triggered him. Yeah.
Yeah. So the lights triggered him. So this idea of multiple personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder, whatever you want to call it, that was studied intensely during the MK Ultra days. Ewan Cameron and his psychic driving experiments.
Bluebird, Monarch, MK Search, MK Delta. Yeah, they're all dealing with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then he sees these demons copulating, kind of like similar to Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas or Hunter Thompson's visions of just lizards humping each other. There's like tails going around his girlfriend's legs and stuff, and it's kind of a raunchy demonic sex scene there. And he's haunted by this, and he keeps switching back and forth between his old family that he had during the Vietnam War or before he went to Vietnam, and then this new girlfriend. But he's so fractured and confused, and it seems like he's searching for something. Like he's trying to figure out what's going on, but he's just lost in it.
Yeah, you hit it right there. So he's going to be on a journey, a soul journey. This is not going to be a journey that is temporal from beginning to end. It's a cyclical, archetypal journey of the soul through different experiences that are intended to cure and purge him. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. But the first, what you mentioned is he sees an incubus. He sees, which is a demon that sleeps with a woman, essentially controlling, copulating with his girlfriend Jezebel. And this is where he starts to think something's off, something's wrong. There are apparently demonic forces in his life that are causing and triggering and relating to these traumas. So he's seemingly beginning then to start questioning spiritual things. And this is where we start noticing more interesting books popping up. The really weirdest of all, which I never noticed until this last viewing, was he has right by his bed this stack of books, one of which is a Crowleyan type of a magical text relating to planetary ritual magic, and it's called The Magical Philosophy, Sword and Serpent. And this is a book about Kabbalistic philosophy relating to planets and the psyche and ritual magic. So oddly enough, he's got that book. Right next to it is a book called The Savage God, on a study of suicide, and another book called Social Evolution. So right away, we're getting a clue that this movie is going to be about the esoteric journey of the soul after death. This is very common in Gnostic traditions. And as I mentioned to you many times, Tristan, and actually this movie made me buy the book. I just ordered Timothy Leary's commentary on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is where he describes the LSD trip as the Tibetan journey of the soul. It's the same experience, he thinks, and that's the key to this movie.
Now, and this film actually has a lot of similarities. I mean, at least his journey has similarities to the film Enter the Void.
Oh, yes, it does. Good point. Yeah.
But that is very hard to watch. I don't know if I'd recommend it. The cinematography is pretty crazy on that film. The lighting is great. The guy who did the cinematography is the guy who did Spring Breakers. So it's got it's good. That really candy style, pastel style, bright neon stuff. I think I would recommend it, but it's very difficult to watch, and it's disturbing as heck. Enter the Void, but it's a similar journey that he goes on, except this seems to be more kind of like Masonic and Catholic rather than Eastern, right? It seems to be more the idea of purgatory is being explored.
Correct.
Here.
And that will even come up because yeah, he as he's reading through all these texts trying to figure out what's going on, he actually reads Dante's Purgatorio, correct?
Mm-hmm. And then there's that other book he's got about witchcraft sitting on the table as well, right? It was like the witches.
Oh yes, he does. He has a, and I'll look that book up too. And that is a book dealing with two husband and wife Wiccan couple called The Witch's Bible: The Sabbats and Rites of Birth, Death, and Marriage. And then he's got a book on demonology, and then he's got a book called Roots of Evil, and then he's reading through Purgatorio. So all those books are clues telling us what is going on in this film. And the next,
you know, it's funny now that
go ahead.
This film actually does have similarities to Spring Breakers as well, which is another one we covered. I think we did that on my channel, right? This like the weird, the strange disjointed narrative, the dreamscape type narrative. I think Spring Breakers actually does have a lot of similarities to this as well, especially if you get to the end of Spring Breakers and you realize what was really happening, what these little girls really are. They're literal demons in the film.
Yes.
So, yeah, I didn't even think of that. Somebody mentioned Spring Breakers in there. Spring Break forever.
The basically Riff Raff character.
Right. Look at all my shit. I got Scarface on repeat. I got knives. I got dark cannonball.
If you guys like the streams that Tristan and I do, be sure and go back and watch our backlog. We've done like 10 shows now, so we've got.
We just have to start our own like just Jay and Tristan stream channel. We do like half our episodes are with each other. Maybe we should do a weekly thing, like a regular.
Yeah, I get a lot of great feedback from me and you, mainly me, but it's a little bit of you, but that's okay.
I get mostly feedback about me. People say, well, like, then I guess, why do you even talk to Jay?
Even, like, except that it's not even because I'm better, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Gabriel. Let's talk about Gabriel, because Gabriel is his chiropractor who fixes his things that are out of alignment. This is chakra type stuff, right? So, So when he's aligning Tim Robbins' chakra, it's like opening up these trigger points, these trigger moments, and the fixing of the spine. I mean, it has that Eastern chakra reference, but it also has a reference to Gabriel being this kind of guardian angel figure. He's basically his guardian.
He says it to him. He says, "Has anybody told you you're like an angel?"
You're like an angel, yeah.
And he says to him, "Yes, all the time. You tell me that all the time," or something like that.
So his guardian angel appears to him in the form of this kind of character that was a guy that he confided in, looked up to, a healing agent in his life, his chiropractor.
But then he also gets triggered into a flashback when he cracks his neck,
right?
Throws him into another spiral.
And the reason for that is that what we later find out is that Gabriel is telling him that, like, I need to fix and purge these areas of your life, because he says you're attached, and if you have these attachments, when you die, it's going to torment you, and so you need to be purged of these attachments so that you can move on and not be tormented. And so he says this really interesting phrase that the demons that are tormenting you are actually for your good, because they're doing this in the long run to purge you from these attachments. And of course, we find out that his attachment is, he has many attachments, but the main one is that he won't let go of the death of his son.
Mm-hmm. Well, he says it's kind of a relativistic philosophy that he portrays too, of almost like, everything is one kind of a thing. It's just, what did he say? I think he says it's all in how you look at it.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like, it's all just like how you look at it. They could be angels, they could be demons. It's all just a matter of perspective, man.
That's true. Unfortunately, the film does kind of err and fall over into the side of the Far Eastern version of things. But I would recommend for those that are interested, just to kind of tie in the Orthodox element to it, is that if you read Father Seraphim Rose's book, The Soul After Death, he will actually talk about, there are some similarities with the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Orthodox conception of what happens after death.
Yeah.
And so he will cover this kind of how we conceive of that there is a journey of the soul after death, and what's called the toll houses and this kind of stuff. So in a way, you could understand this as a toll house film. I mean, obviously, again, it's kind of paganized and it's not exactly our view, but the rough idea here is correct that there were some purgations that he needed to undergo in his afterlife experience.
And his son, I don't think you mentioned this yet, the son is Macaulay Culkin.
That is weird. Who even claims to have undergone like mind control. I mean, I'm not saying his claims are true. I don't know, but
did he say that? I mean, I saw him.
He may have just been looking for attention. I don't know, but I think he's had.
Macaulay Culkin got real weird the last couple of years. I don't know if you've seen his website,
his podcast and stuff.
Yeah, lots of very, very strange symbolism there. He was on Joe Rogan. It was odd, to say the least.
I remember that.
Yeah, he's been through some tough times, man. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something about Macaulay Culkin that is very sad, right? Seeing him as a little boy, it's really sad. Like he looks to me like somebody who's dealing with a lot of pain at that young age. I think he might be 5 or 6 years old in the film here.
Yeah, he's really young.
He just looks like a really abused little child, man. And I don't know. I got a son who's 4 years old right now, so it's hard to see that, these little kids in Hollywood getting passed around in these films and stuff and hanging out with these creepers, and who knows what's going on these sets. But especially when you have these monster films and shit like that, where they have kids doing scenes that they're acting out and ritually involved in scenes that are things that they should never be exposed to. And these actors, as young children, child actors, are being exposed to sexuality. They're being exposed to hyper violence. Even like these crazy animatronic monsters in the 90s and 80s films. These little kids are being traumatized on these sets. And I think that's something a lot of people don't think about when you watch these children in these films.
I've wondered about that too. Like, what if, we know that there's instances where film studios, production houses have been used as fronts, cover operations, cutouts, and then conceivably also for trafficking they have been for cover for trafficking drugs, and then perhaps other things as well, like you're mentioning. That's definitely bizarre.
Parents in Southern California know what they're doing when they bring their kid to Hollywood.
I think that's a good point. Yeah. And some of those documentaries that have come out about
San Diego and Inland Empire, and I didn't grow up in LA, but San Diego and Inland Empire, there's still, kids who feed into that system, and it's a strange world, and the parents are the ones who are
complicit. They're complicit. There's one of those documentaries, the one that was about Hollywood that came out 2 years ago. You know what I'm talking about?
Which one?
The pedo one from the Hollywood stuff that they suppressed. It came out 2 years ago. So Spotlight isn't that the one about Roman Catholic Church? And then there's the one about Hollywood.
I remember. Yeah.
But in that one, they raised that question that you're making about how it would appear that the parents are complicit as well.
Absolutely.
If somebody in the chat,
like Miley Cyrus's dad, that's a weird situation, man. Billy Ray Cyrus, and I don't know. Maybe he was just a country bumpkin and he didn't know what his daughter was getting into. Did you watch the Miley Cyrus Joe Rogan conversation?
I saw about 10 or 20 minutes of it, where she was talking about the diet stuff. I watched that whole clip,
Okay, yeah. There's I don't know. It's an interesting glimpse into a Hollywood child actor.
And I watched you cover it as well.
Yeah, it's just her voice, man. That chick's voice.
Guys in the chat, what's that documentary a couple years ago on Hollywood and creepers?
Open Secret. That's
it.
Open
That's
Secret.
it. Thank you. So check that one out. But so
Macaulay Culkin's only in a few scenes, but it's striking just seeing his face, little bags under his eyes, little pale, blonde-haired boy. It's just, I don't know. He just looks like he's about to cry. It doesn't seem like he's acting.
The movie, one reason for the similarity to the LSD trip could be argued that this.
Not even true.
That's not
they
true?
just say
I
that.
didn't know that.
Rick Strassman tried to claim that and was never able to prove it. It's conjecture. Was never able to prove that, but we do know that the body makes DMT, but we don't know how it metabolizes it. We don't know much about it. And they postulated that it was the pineal gland that was producing it. They never proved it. And the book was written by, maybe we should do an episode on this, but the book by Rick Strassman, DMT, the Spirit Molecule. If you look at the inside jacket cover, the research was sponsored by a little known organization that maybe some of you have heard of called the Scottish Rite. Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. They wanted to prove.
Let's do. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna do I'm gonna get that. I got that Tim Leary book coming on the Tibetan Book of the Dead and LSD, and then I'll read that, and then we'll cover that spirit molecule thing.
Sweet, man. I'll try to get a copy of that book too. I'll see if I can't find a PDF of it. If anybody out there has a PDF of, I'm sure it's online. I'll be able to find it right.
Yeah,
quick.
it's a famous book, but okay.
Maybe
So
we should do that book and what's another psychonaut? That
spirit
has a-
molecule, man. Another Psychonaut book. Well, I have not actually read any Tim Leary, so I mean, other than the essay and the couple books that I've got, I've done 2 essays
just on
by
Tim
Leary.
Leary. We could read that book and then we can look at a few video clips or something too, or like.
Oh, I know what we need
talk
to do,
about-
dude. I know that the Psychonaut book. Do either of Robert Anton Wilson's books, Lucifer Rising or that other one.
Yeah,
I've read those.
he's got pictures in his books too, so my low IQ can read them. I'll be able to read them.
Maybe we could find a picture book version of the entire book for you.
That'd be really nice. If you could just summarize it for me.
That's what I do for a living, Tristan, is summarize books for people. So I could do that for you too.
I love the tone that you speak to me in when you tell me that. It makes me feel like a big boy.
Welcome, everybody. We got 435 nerds in the live chat tonight. We got a few super chats. I'll cover those in a minute. Thank you for those super chats. Please support the stream by the Streamlabs link that our friends keep incessantly posting in the chat. We got a heck of
and come over to my channel when I stream too, man. We're getting like 200. We get like 200 per stream.
By the way, Tristan, I share your stuff on Twitter and everywhere, and the algo is not being nice to Tristan. By the way, it's not being nice to me.
Well, don't blame the algo. People just don't like my shit. Come on. No. I know that there's like at least a couple billion people watching my streams. I know. The numbers are fake. They're trying to suppress. There's pretty much half the population of the world tunes into the Primal Edge Health streams that talk about these degenerate things we see spreading through our culture.
The one thing here's the thing I didn't understand about the movie. Maybe you could enlighten me on this one. So he meets up with that guy with the creepy, chunky dude who's like, "Hey, remember me? I'm Paul, your company buddy, war buddy guy. By the way, I'm going to hell. The demons are after me." So he's like, "Come meet me at a bar. I'm going to hell." And then we start to think, okay, maybe Jacob is on his descent. He's kind of going deeper and deeper into Hades. And the dude that he meets up with is like, "Hey, I've been looking into Christianity, but it doesn't seem to help me. I've got this necklace and I've got a Bible, but it's not helping me." And then he walks outside and his car blows up. I don't understand. And then, Jacob is triggered. He sees a quarter. He tries to pick up a quarter, and that's what keeps him from getting in the car. The quarter flies away, and the car blows up. I still don't understand this scene.
I think it has something to do with the nonlinear thing. Remember they talked about there was a character that was mentioned earlier in the film who died because his car exploded. Remember this? I think it was within the first 20 minutes, and he asked him about what's the character. There's a character.
Oh, so they're killing people that are associated with the company because they might talk about MK Ultra.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was one of his buddies or if it was a doctor. I think it was his doctor, right? Wasn't it his doctor? Like he went in and tried to find his doctor, and they said the guy tells him he's dead. He's dead, man. And he's like, "What happened?" His car exploded. And he's like, "What?" And he tries to go see the doctor, and the nurse pulls off her hat, and there's this big like growth thing on the back of her head.
Yes.
And it looks like. And then the doctor comes out. He's like, "What are you doing here, man? Hey, the doctor's not here.
Yeah,
he's dead. His car exploded."
Right, so she's a demon, right?
Or she was, had some sort of an MK Ultra mind chip in her, or both.
I think it's supposed to be a horn. So he's seeing people with horns and tails and.
Oh, I thought it was a like a scar, like it looked like a cancerous growth, like this tumor coming out of her dome. But I think it had something to do with that. Like maybe it was a non-linear
I see.
representation of what happened there. And he was seeing the doctor get blown up.
I see. And so then he starts thinking that he starts getting more paranoid because his buddies who are going to sue the government for MK Ultra abuse, and they go to George Costanza is going to be his lawyer, and he's like, "You don't have a case. You don't got nothing." And so he freaks out, and then all of his buddies, they basically disown him, and they don't want anything to do with him. So now he's getting super paranoid, and he thinks they're going to kill me. And the lawyer says, I looked into you. You were discharged for psychological issues after war games in Thailand. And he's like, no, that's a cover story. That's not what happened to me. We were experimented on in Vietnam.
Yep. I would say I think one of my favorite scenes is the revelation of what happened. Like when he's speaking to his friend, his old war buddy, the hippie guy, and he starts to tell him his story about how he was arrested for producing LSD. He went to Rikers Island, and the government approached him and told him, if you go to Vietnam and you work for us, we'll commute your sentence, or we'll basically, you won't have to serve any time. We just need you to come and work with us and do some of your chemistry. So he went, and what happened was, he says he was involved in experiments trying to find the absolute worst, most powerful psychotomimetic drugs that will break the psyche of the user and put them in a state, as you mentioned, of absolute primal terror and fear. And that was the latter was mentioned at that point. But this was, I mean, full on kind of MK Ultra motif here when he talks about this, especially the the compartmentalization of it, the getting compromised people, right? The using compromised criminals as intelligence assets. All of these tie in, and these are very important as far as espionage, geopolitics goes, with blackmail and keeping people quiet, right? And you want people who are compromised to be working under you if you're doing experimentation like they were doing that they mentioned in this film. And so it was basically this guy got recruited to be an MK Ultra doctor and experiment on soldiers in Vietnam using horrific drugs.
And then we find out that this drug, BZ, this was an actual thing that was tested on the soldiers. So the film is referencing a psychotomimetic chemical weapon known as BZ, which is a psychoactive agent that's supposed to cause this descent into the primal, regions of the psyche or whatever. So now we get the explanation of what the latter is. And if you don't know, of course, this is from Genesis when Jacob is wrestling with the angel of the Lord, the Logos. And right before he wrestles, he sees this angel, and he sees the ladder descending and ascending. He sees angels ascending and descending on this ladder. And then if you read John 1, Jesus says, I'm the ladder. That was me that was wrestling with Jacob. And so it's this means by which one goes from heaven to earth. Here it's kind of inverted, and it's the ladder that will take you the other way down to Hades. If you've seen the icon of St. John Climacus, famous Orthodox icon, you'll notice it's the ladder that's got people climbing the ladder, and then the demons are trying to pull people off of the ladder. So again, it does touch on kind of Orthodox thought and imagery here, but I'm glad Tristan mentioned the MK Ultra stuff, because of course this is, even though the film is not ultimately about MK Ultra, it is dealing with that and exposing that to a degree, and particularly probably the Phoenix program, because we find out that they dosed the soldiers food, and then the soldiers ended up going ape and basically cannibalized and went nuts on each other. So they were going crazy. They just went into total possessed mode. And that that Jewish hippie chemist guy is pretty funny. He was cracking me up. He was like if Seinfeld was a psychonaut. It's like, we did what we could. We did what we could. But hey, what was I supposed to do? They got me. What was I supposed to do? It's like Woody Allen mixed with I don't know.
Like a young, less weird looking Woody Allen.
And then so then they're stuck. Then we think, well, is he stuck in hell? Because he goes through. Is this where he has like his worst? That was the creepiest part of the movie. Do you remember when he was in like the deepest part of hell, and he's like on the operating table, and that creepy doctor is like, "Welcome to hell." And
his girlfriend's there.
Yeah, and his girlfriend is the doctor or the torture woman. He's like, "Get me out of here."
Yeah, that was a pretty disturbing scene, man. Some of the scenes when he's walking through the hospital, they're wheeling him through the hospital. The cinematography is really good. There's no I don't know. I like these old films better. Even Total Recall, man. Like,
Even
stand
90,
CGI.
even goofy 90s movies are better than the ones today. I told
They're
you.
better. Like the visual effects are better in goofy 90s movies. John Carpenter's visual effects are better than stupid Avatar and all this gay stuff with the I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the CGI that they've done lately.
No,
Doesn't
it's
look
annoying.
good to me.
But so before we finish with this, one last point I wanted to make with Jacob's Ladder and to ask you is, so eventually, as you can imagine, he does let loose his attachment to his dead son. He overcomes all that, and then he kind of has this experience of going home. He leaves the weird girlfriend, Jezebel woman, goes back presumably to what he thinks is home, and this is really then the staircase, which represents the ladder to heaven. So he's ascended from the ladder in the pits of hell, and now he's going back up the ladder to heaven, and he's basically saved. And then we find out at the very last scene that all of the movie was like the point of his death. So his whole life, and even perhaps had he made bad decisions, like he's even living out kind of what had happened through bad decisions that he made, re-experiencing them, and it's the soul being then purified to move on to the next state.
Yeah, I think the I don't know. It's not like it's an uplifting film. When I hear you say it, it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of nice. Doesn't feel like that when you watch it. It's
No,
definitely
it's a very
dark
disturbing.
film.
It's a disturbing film.
Disturbing and bleak and dark film. And I mean, what do you expect from Hollywood, right? It's there are some aspects of it that are redeeming. The acting's really good. It's I wouldn't watch it again.
I mean, setting aside the moral critiques of Hollywood, I think it's a really well done movie. I think it's a great.
It's well done. But would you watch it again?
I've watched it like 10 times since it came out.
Yeah.
It's one I've always had, just because I thought it was a relevant movie. But it's not like I don't like. It's hard to watch, and any movie that's hard to watch, even if I like it, like Inland Empire, I'm not going to watch it a lot. But maybe every 4 or 5. It's one of those movies that maybe every 4 or 5 years I'll go back to it, but not a lot. You want to move on to Total Recall? By the way,
Absolutely.
It's worth noting that Jacob's Ladder was a critical success, but not a monetary success. So the movie was a little probably too dark and weird for mass audiences. It broke even at the box office, but it did get a lot of critical appraisal.
I enjoyed it. I don't think I would watch it too many more times. There's so many films out there to watch. I think I'd give it 2 doses of BZ out of 3 doses of BZ.
I'm gonna give it 4 Joe Rogan DMT hits out of 5.
Nice. So slightly higher than I rated it.
A little higher. Yeah, I do think it's good. I give it like a 7 out of 10. But that's to translate that into normie speak for those of you that aren't enlightened. 4 DMT hits is equivalent to 7 out of 10. But you got to be kind of like deep and philosophical to get that, which
you have to have transcended your ego.
Yeah, which I don't know if you know about that yet, but
no, they don't. They're just they're down there where our ego's really tiny. They have really big ones.
So once again, as you said, 1990, and let's see if this was as big of a blockbuster as I remembered or thought.
What was the budget on it? Because it actually
it was. This was a huge summer blockbuster. It cost 50 to 60 million and made 263 million. So in 1990 money, that was a blockbuster for sure.
So we got Arnold. I love your cover image. You picked one of the best moments in the film there.
I love that. I've always laughed at that. This is PKD, so we know we're getting an interesting, Gnostic, bizarre, esoteric tale with old PKD here. He never fails to deliver in that department. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh man, Philip K. Dick. He's one of my favorite authors of the '70s. One of my favorite sci-fi authors. I quite enjoy his books. He's not the most stylish writer, but he does decent dialogue and he builds characters well. But he does world building and idea building very well.
Can I get you to take over for a minute? I have to go empty my Philip K. If you know what I mean.
Right on. I'm gonna go drop a PKD in the toilet right now.
No, just the liquid version there. I have to empty the PKD.
Go drop a PKD. All right. So Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick. He's a fascinating character. When you look at the biography of Philip K. Dick, he is somebody who was hanging out with a lot of these Silicon Valley elite types in the 1960s and 70s in California. And he was rightfully really freaked out by what he saw, by what he learned. Philip K. Dick had a fascinating conception of reality and a very tragic conception of reality. A lot of his books are about the loss of identity, the loss of yourself, and the loss of your soul, essentially. Right. So Philip K. Dick was one of the first people to write about technocracy in a in a way where he ties in intelligence agencies. And one of the good books by Philip K. Dick that shows his understanding of espionage to a certain extent, social engineering, and how drug culture was used as a tool is the book called, they made a film out of it, and I was just talking about it with Jay earlier, but I'm forgetting the name. Scanner Darkly.
It's called
Scanner
Kazam.
Darkly.
It's got Shaq in it.
No, not Kazam. Kazam, that's a different one. So anyway, yes, Philip K. Dick has a really interesting story as far as his life story goes. He even believed that he was some sort of a MK Ultra type victim at some times in his life, and believed that he was being experimented on using psychotronic weapons.
That reminds me. Do you remember Waking Life? We should cover that, dude. That's perfect for that would be perfect in the Psychonaut stream or a different.
Let's do
stream.
Waking Life, and we'll do Waking Life and the other one, the Scanner Darkly, because they're both Philip K. Dick-ish, and they're both by the same director, Richard Linklater.
Right.
Who's actually a pretty good director. Like, he's some solid stuff.
And of course,
what do you think about Boyhood?
Mr. Jones, Mr. Al Jones is in that movie.
Mr. Jones and me, stumbling through the barrio, and we're
She
staring
sits along my lamppost.
She looking at you. I got to be somebody for me. I want to be Bob Dylan. Mr.
Let
Jones
Tristan
wishes
cry.
something just a little more funky.
As the tears roll down his bald head, let Tristan cry. And if the sun comes up tomorrow, let him cry.
So I haven't read, I'm not sure what the book that Total Recall is based on. I don't think it's actually called Total Recall, but I think it's based on a short story by Philip K. Dick. He wrote a lot of short stories. And they're pretty easy. They're quick reads, most of them. I would suggest reading Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? That's another good one. That's what Blade Runner is based on. As well as The Man in the High Castle. That's another.
By the way, I just bought some of the books. I've read some of the short stories, which I really liked, but I've been just kind of waiting to get to some of his. Have you read any of his like novels, like or whatever?
They're short, right? They're short novels. So there's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is good. The Penultimate Truth is basically THX 1138. Everybody lives in this underground society. They're so scared because they think there was a nuclear holocaust and the world's so big and scary upstairs, and everybody lives underground and they're afraid of what's going on up there. But it's all a big psyop. They're just being tricked and to live underground and be afraid in this hyper sterile environment, and they think they're all going to die if they go up. But the elite are using the Earth's surface, right? And they live there. So it's similar to THX 1138 in that way. I suggest reading his books. They're good. Valis, later in life, he got zonked out, and it gets a little bit weirder. That's the time of his life when he thought he was being communicated with by an artificial intelligence alien that was beaming satellite information to him from space, and it was really freaky, weird MK Ultra type stuff that he believed he was being experimented on. And he called himself Horse Lover Fat, Philip K. Dick. He was so poor most of his life. He wrote pop sci-fi, and he was poor, and he used to eat horse meat to keep himself alive because it was cheaper. So he called himself Horse Lover Fat. He made this fake name, and all his books are about himself and his kind of loss of identity, his search for love, his search for God, essentially. And
there's at some point, is it right that so there's this weird part in the Linklater movie where the guy is talking about Philip K. Dick, and he mentions that he thinks that in the middle of the book of Acts, like something messed up, and we're all stuck halfway through the book of Acts.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
really crazy.
He came up with weird theories like this that he would posit at times, and maybe maybe we got to do some stream. We have so many. We have a list of like 20 streams we have to do. But PKD, man, uh, he gave this speech about living in a matrix and an artificial reality, an artificial construct. And he really started to believe that this was real and that he had tapped into in between the fabric of reality. And he came up with some odd theories. But that part of waking life, that's Richard Linklater is the character who's telling that story.
Right,
So I think
right,
that
right.
means a lot to him
Yes,
for some
I forgot
reason.
about that. You're right.
I don't know why it means so much to him because it's a strange. I don't know. I'd have to watch that film again too.
I wonder if he'd come on a stream. I should ask if to reach out, see if he'd do an interview.
Dude, you should get him on, man. If you get him on a stream, I'd love to come on too.
I tried to get Harmony Korine, but he didn't ever reply. But I don't know.
Korine's cool.
Anyway.
I'm a big fan of Linklater. I do like his films. He seems to have been able to make some good films that he really liked and loved, and they meant a lot to him. And he made them kind of outside of the whole Hollywood weirdocracy. He did it out of Austin instead of Hollywood,
Right.
and he filmed a lot in Texas.
Right.
And he seems like he's kind of not so weird as some of these Hollywood folks are.
All right, so Total Recall, we got the PKD background. Paul Verhoeven as the director, funny character. If you know, he did, of course, Starship Troopers, which is another weird sci-fi Pentagon-produced thing. They actually read that kind of, the Heinlein is read at, I think, the Navy or Army War College. So you will actually go read, if you go to, like, Pentagon stuff, you'll read Heinlein as part of your research.
Yeah. A stranger in a strange land.
Moon is a Harsh Mistress too, which is actually about Google. So there's this AI that's like helping the libertarian revolution. Yeah, there's really.
Well, Valis is kind of like that too, except Google, the AI, are now this off-planet entity that beam thoughts to people's head.
Oh.
It's like, yeah, it's really, but it's schizoid. He was into speed, like, right? Philip K. Dick was into speed
Right.
and psychedelics, and that is a combination for some strange.
Only
delusion.
speed I'm into is Vin Diesel speed, aka Fast and Furious, baby.
Fast and Furious.
I've never seen Fast and Furious. I'm joking.
Only Vin Diesel I'm into is Triple X, bro. Xander Cage.
I'm in the
you know
Vin
about
Diesel
Xander
fan
Cage?
club, so that's
The
how
greatest
into
film
that's
of
how
all
into
time.
Vin I am. I'm into Vin. I have Venn diagrams about Venn numbers on cars demonstrating.
I would
Vin
watch
Diesel's
Triple X. That
existence.
movie is so funny. Triple X is one of the funniest movies ever.
I think I did watch that. It's pretty bad.
Like the first 3 minutes, he meets like Tony Hawk and Dave Mira and like all the extreme sports guys, and they're like, oh, what's up, dude? He's like, hey, what's up, Tony Hawk? And Tony Hawk's like, hey, did you finish that new trick? Did you finish that new trick yet? He's like, yeah, what, my Superman seat grab barrel roll? Nah, I'm close though. And then he like the bad guys come and he blows everything up, and then he like runs off and he grabs a tray, like a cafeteria tray, and board slides down a huge rail, and then jumps on a motorcycle, and then just jumps every explosion. That movie's amazing. Triple X.
Do
I gotta watch that again.
Do you even know how to Tokyo?
I live for this shit.
Do you trying to do a Vin? Do you even know how to Tokyo drift?
Dude, do you know Vin Diesel? He has an album. He just put out an album.
What? Are you
Vin
serious?
Diesel. It's on YouTube.
Somebody said
All the
Asia.
songs.
Somebody said Asia Argento is in Triple X. That's weird, given Dario Argento is such an esoteric, creepy horror maker.
So anyway,
Have
yeah,
you seen
Total
Suspiria,
Recall.
by the way?
No.
I don't think you would like it, but anyway. So we open up what we got. What looks like chocolate bar Mars. Mars looks like a big red chocolate bar. The models. So they're still using models. No CGI yet, really, in this. There's only one sequence that I recall being CGI in this movie, which is we ran him off. He ran away. Finally,
I'm back.
Tristan capitulated. Oh, he's back.
I was
about to start
cowering in shame
I
from
know, I
all
was
the
about to
other
start
great
dropping
movies.
insults, but you dropped.
cowering in
You
shame.
dropped
I was-
without my insults, so
I was just kind of cowering over there in the corner in shame and fear from all these great vegan debaters who've been crushing me in comments all week.
you You're not fast and furious. You're slow and mediocre. How's that?
Is that a line from Fast and the
No,
Furious?
I just made it up.
Fast
I
and
don't
Furious.
even know how to talk like Vin Diesel. I'm just trying to remember kind of what he talks about. He's got like this graveliest voice of all time.
Yeah, but it's so fake though. Like it's.
He probably doesn't really talk.
He probably talks like this if you really talk to him.
In real life, Vin Diesel sounds like this.
I wonder what race is Vin Diesel? He's like one of those like The Rock, like racially ambiguous, where it's like you could just project whatever race you think is cool, and that's him. Like if you're white, like you think Vin Diesel's white.
Rock is his race, like a rock.
If you're like Mexican, you kind of think Vin Diesel's Mexican. If you're black, you think he's part black.
Or
so
Arab,
he just
yeah,
never
could
says
be anything.
his real last name is probably like Bronfman or something.
Isn't he like Hawaiian or something?
I don't know. I feel like Vin Diesel is
No. I meant The Rock is like Samoan or something.
Oh, The Rock, yeah, he's Samoan. I think his dad was like half black and half Samoan or something. He's like Rock. I think he has a little bit of black in him, but he's mostly Samoan, which is why he's a monster, dude. Samoans are freaking huge, strong people. They are, and they really like family too. Samoans
They're
are really cool.
down there eating all those vegetables, vegans.
All those vegetables, yeah, right? All the soy that they like.
So we see pyramid mines. There's colonization of Mars, terraformed Mars. Mars is now a colony, so we get this whole industrial complex colonization now of other planets, just like empires would have colonies previously. And now we find out it's going to be a resource war. And the first thing that popped in my head was, this makes me think of like the stuff that we hear about Elon Musk is going to send us to Mars. I mean, were we being prepped for trips to Mars through this goofy thing?
Yeah, well, and Mars is actually run by like an Elon Musk type character.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is I've got some notes here. Like it starts out the very beginning in the first shots kind of invoke this idea of, dreams and reality. Am I dreaming? Is this real? You don't know, right? Doesn't he wakes up from a dream, like a sexual dream, and he's with Sharon Stone, and they have they're in this kind of honeymoon style relationship where they're just so enamored with each other. They can't stop kissing and like they're just all over each other, that's another funny Hollywood thing, right? Like all the relationships in these films, they're all very unrealistic, right? Like if you've been with somebody, you love somebody, you've been with them for a little bit, you're not like constantly making out all over the place.
Well, that's true, but if you remember, this one is unique because she's a sex operative.
Yes, exactly. And that's why, I mean, that is an excuse, but there's other films where it's like,
right,
like, oh, we got to be like, I don't know, this false ideal of like your relationship is just all sexual and it's hypersexual and you're just always all over each other and you have to just be like tonguing each other's faces all day. I think that's a weird Hollywood trope that gets pushed out there. There's nothing wrong with affection and stuff, but it's like, look, you've been married for a few years, you're probably not going to be tonguing each other constantly like you see in these films. It's very weird, very strange.
Right, which you're right. That's actually a key, I think, showing us that something's off about this present experience of Arnold. And then he goes and he's working this jackhammer, and it's like, so that we're in the future. They can fly to Mars, but dudes are still out there just with jackhammers. There's no robots.
You still need, and they have like it's like on his bicep. It's got close up on his bicep. Arnold just looking jacked. Just jacked out of his mind. But the scene with him and Sharon Stone, and she's like punching him. She's sitting on top of him, and she's like, she's really jealous. Like right away, it's this idea of like the sex relationship between them, which is just sexual, it seems, and it's just about control and jealousy. And the jealousy kind of gives you a hint that something's not quite right here, and that they don't seem like they've been together that long.
I had another dream about her.
He's like bragging.
Why do you keep dreaming of her? Because I just do. It was great, by the way. And she's like, why are you thinking about her? Well, I was thinking of her then, and now I'm thinking of you. Right? And he just laughs it off, and it's really good.
No, but then she just like lays back. She's like, I'll give you something to dream about. And then she like lays down and spreads her legs or something. He's like, wow. It was super funny. The opening scene is hilarious.
There was a couple quick kind of references to things that were ahead of their time. There's a war on terror going on, right? That keeps being mentioned on the news. ESPN is everywhere. Everywhere Arnold goes, there's screens everywhere blasting ESPN. There's war on terror blasting. Now, this is prior to war on terror. This is, by the way, keep in mind, nobody had been thinking of war on terror in 1990. Right after this comes another big blockbuster that kicks off Hollywood's notion of war on terror, and that's True Lies, another big Arnold movie. So Arnold will be in some of these key pivot point late 80s, early 90s action figures that will transition everybody's thought process into 80s Commando, Cold War stuff, Rambo stuff. Now flip it over into 90s war on terror.
Yeah. So, what he said, come, baby, you know you're the girl of my dreams. You know you're the girl of my dreams. Like that. I don't know why I wrote down that line. I just thought that was funny. But there's space-based weapons. Another thing
that comes up.
The weaponization of space. And you mentioned like there's screens everywhere in their home, right? So they live in this. It's not like a teeny tiny apartment. It actually looks kind of big. But for Hollywood, like in a Hollywood movie, when you're shooting something like this, it makes it look small. So it does kind of seem like they're in this coffin apartment type situation, and they switch on the TV. He switches on the TV, starts watching the news and getting all freaked out about the terror attacks and all the things the news is terrorizing him about. She switches it off, and it goes to this nature scene of like a beautiful pond and a bunch of trees. So the only natural landscapes that they're exposed to are through their screens. Are through
That's
this
a great
artificial.
Point. That was way ahead of its time.
Yeah. And so this is not by accident. I'm sure the Pentagon was consulting for this film as well, just like they have in so many.
Well, don't forget the next sequence after that, which is the TSA. Arnold has to walk through a giant X-ray that fully X-rays his whole body.
Yep, and there's body scanners, surveillance, and TSA, and biometrics as well, right, with the thumb printing, and so the biometric identification. Oh, also you mentioned like the terrorists, the war on terror and this stuff. These factions are fighting over resources. This esoteric Gnostic idea of artifacts in this pyramid mine. Right. So there's kind of this
ancient alien technology on Mars that will give people an upper hand in terms of resource war.
Right. And they tie it in with this Gnostic idea, and there are essentially this mutant colony has been prepared on Mars by this billionaire class. And this man, what was the guy's name that runs Mars?
Cochrane.
No, I think it was something else. It was like
pretty sure it's Cochrane. Oh, you mean the
Revolution?
The Revolution is run by so the billionaire bad guy is Cochrane, and then there's they call him the George Washington of Mars.
Yeah,
his name.
So again, this Gnostic idea of revolution, right? We have to overthrow the established order. The Demiurge in the film is this kind of Elon Musk style billionaire guy who has colonized Mars, terraformed Mars, and created a giant bubble where he controls and rations air.
Kuato.
Yeah, Kuato, right. So Kuato is the rebel army leader. And it's kind of similar to Blade Runner 2049 in some ways, how you have this underground movement of the mutants that want to be free, but the Demiurge is keeping them down. And it's this Elon Musk type character who has sealed them into this bubble and makes them pay for air, which I think is really funny, kind of the Agenda 21 type stuff.
Exactly, right. So the ultimate privatization of resources now beyond water, right, is air, right? And so if you're on Mars, presumably, according to this mythology, like if you could control the oxygen on Mars, you would have total resource control. But before I got to that, though, I wanted to mention that when he sees the ad for Recall, it's very interesting that Recall has a K instead of a C, so it's spelled REKALL, and then they have a butterfly that's a logo. So I think that MK, the K is there for a reason to tell you that this is a reference obliquely to MK Ultra. The butterfly shows up to show you that it's Monarch, because in those programs, and DARPA has developed this nowadays, the ability to erase and replace and implant memories. As you pointed out, Blade Runner, that's exactly what happens with the replicants. PKD is who wrote a Blade Runner story. And here PKD is telling us about the same stuff with DARPA memory erasing and replacing. And what does Arnold end up with as his programming? A secret agent mind control program.
Yep.
So he sits in this machine, gets his mind wiped. And then, which is probably one of the best aspects of the movie, is that we are put into this state where we're now trying to figure out what's real and what's part of the Matrix. So this is actually the Matrix, prior to the Matrix. Arnold is running around in this story that he's chosen, and now we can't figure out, was Sharon Stone really his girlfriend at the beginning? Where did he actually start his programming? We don't know. And that's, I think, the best part of this movie is that aspect.
Yeah. The idea of the company Recall, it's this corporate MK Ultra type program where they sell people on the idea of vacations, right? So you don't have to go on a real vacation. That's dangerous, or it's not as fun. It's not as cool. We're going to implant memories in you. We're going to sell you whatever memories you want, and you'll think it's totally real, and you'll experience it all. So there's this kind of Neuralink type idea as well. And how does he pay for it, Jay? He pays for it with social credits.
Oh, good one, dude.
You know what I said? They call it credits. You pay with your credits. It only costs 899 credits. How else would you spend your credits?
Huh. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird predictive part of it that was very strange.
Did you notice too by the way, mentioning that Pentagon deep state element, remember, because Starship Troopers is Heinlein, and that's satire in what you read if you go to Army War College. Verhoeven directs that. Verhoeven directs this. And remember that PKD was claiming that he had been in the circles of Silicon Valley. So he wasn't just making stuff up.
No,
he had been hanging out with those guys. Yeah, what would become Silicon Valley. So he had inside kind of info on what they were.
PKD was kind of one of these think tank guys that it seems like he was being harvested for ideas. Yeah. He seems like it seems like in the 70s especially, a lot of these California characters in the drug culture, PKD, even Leary was openly involved with in intelligence agencies and stuff. But it seems like there was a certain part of the intelligence agencies that were using characters like this and monitoring them and harvesting ideas from them and using them kind of as witting and unwitting members of think tanks for social engineering planning. And I think PKD was involved in that stuff, and he got freaked out by what he saw and what he heard.
In Annie Jacobson's DARPA book, she got whole chapters on the Pentagon talking to sci-fi writers, and they were kind of doing this thing, trying to harvest ideas, like you said. Another weird element was that they tried to sell him on when Arnold gets in the CAT scan. It looks like a CAT scan machine. By the way, I was that funny scene when he's like, ah, and he's laying in the CAT scan machine, and it made me immediately think of when he's in, is it Kindergarten Cop, and his idiot line, "It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor." And here he's laying in a CAT scan machine. Basically, is what it looks like. And there's another reference in this movie to other Arnold movies or future Arnold movies, because there's 2 or 3 times in this movie where he's like, "You're not me. I am me. Hey, you're me." And then in Sixth Day, when he encounters his clones, he's like, "Hey, you're not me. I am me. No, I am me. You're you." They have this idiot dialogue back and forth. But this comes up in more than one Arnold movie. Have you seen Sixth Day, the cloning Arnold movie?
No, I'm not seeing that one. What year was it?
Oh, dude, it's hilarious, man. You got to watch this. It's as fun.
I like Arnold. I'm always down for Arnold
movies.
It's
as goofy as Total Recall, and Arnold has just as many goofy one-liners. And
was it before or after Total Recall?
It's after, so I think it's about 95 or 6. So Arnold has a handful of doozies. I would say, by the way, Predator actually is really good. Predator is an awesome movie.
Yeah, it is. Well, and there's other Predator movies that are goofy, but also have, what was the one where they have like the pyramids in Antarctica?
Yes, I know. Alien versus Predator is where they, But
it's mostly action, but there are some weird esoteric things in that one.
So Arnold has a bunch of stinkers, but he actually has some that are funny. Running Man is really good. I do recommend, if you've never seen. That's a great dystopia, Running Man.
I've seen that either.
With Arnold. Total Recall is fun. It's funny. Definitely watch Commando. That's classic 80s, just Arnold being ridiculous. And then the Sixth Day is not that good of a movie, but it does have a lot of predictive program. It's got driverless cars and all kinds of stuff like that. But just Arnold interacting with his clones is hilarious, just because it's so ridiculous. True Lies is relevant just because it kicks off War on Terror, and I'm sure there's a bunch more Arnold, but the one-liners are pretty classic in Sixth Day and in Commando and Running Man.
Yeah.
Get your ass to Mars! Get your ass to Mars! Get your ass to Mars!
Consider that a divorce.
Get your ass to Mars! Oh yeah, consider that a divorce.
Consider that a divorce. See you at the party.
See you at the party.
I love how, dude, he punches Sharon Stone in the face.
He punches her. Consider that a divorce. Yeah.
Well, that's when he shoots her in the head, but before that, he punches her in the face. Remember when?
When they first fight, when he finds out she's
knocks her out.
Yeah.
Just bah. Oh man, and she kicks him in the balls like 4 times.
She does the ouch my balls move, right?
Close up, ouch my balls like 4 times. They should have had like a boink, but they didn't. But hey, did you notice that they have autonomous vehicles?
Yes, they have the robot Uber driver. Hey, I'm your Johnny
Carson
Cab.
Welcome to Carson Cab. Or
Yeah.
The idea of like
I don't know, drive.
Let's go. I like how all he has to do is rip the robot out, and then he grabs the joystick. Like they make a robot to drive with a joystick.
With a joystick.
Why don't they just make the robot wired directly? I don't get it, but so there's the idea of the breakaway civilization.
Yes,
is obviously very prominent, but also compartmentalization, right? The compartmentalization where one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, which is really important in intelligence agencies, and they bring this up with the antagonist characters, where he says to him, I don't give you enough information to think. You do what you're told, right? So the characters, they're out there doing their own little missions, but they don't understand the big picture thing. And sometimes they get fed lies to keep them compartmentalized. And then in the end, some of them come to realize some of the bigger picture. But that idea of compartmentalization is here in the film. And that's, as you have talked about many times, is really important in the intelligence world. Mm-hmm. Sexual blackmail, right? I mean, there are a lot of different control mechanisms that are explored in this film, and I wrote down just a few: sexual blackmail, drugs, hypnosis, cybernetics, virtual reality, theater, right? This idea of theater and almost ritual, where you have people in somebody's life, handlers that will come and stage certain events or lay out certain narratives in order to influence a character and their worldview so that they will interpret the world in certain ways and thus behave in certain ways, is a big part of the mind control techniques that they use, right? They're always trying to tell them a story, right? Like, oh, no, this is what's really happening. You were doing this, but the real reason was this. And you don't ever know if it's true or if it's a lie. And that's kind of how intelligence agencies work, right? If you want somebody to do your dirty work, you don't tell them why they're doing it. You get somebody who's dumb enough and compartmentalized that they'll get a job done and not have any idea the bigger picture of what they're connected to.
Yes.
There's another trauma, of course, right? Ritual trauma, electroshock therapy. So all these MK Ultra type
an implant.
techniques.
He's got a microchip implant that he has to pull out through his nose like a gigantic booger.
Right. And then they also use film to mess with him. Remember, like the film that they had him shoot. Right. So they used film, theatrics, and of course, just the threat of violence. So those are just some of the control mechanisms that were explored in order to manipulate characters' consciousness and manipulate characters in doing what they want to do. And all of those are pretty dang important in the world of espionage. And these are tools used by espionage agencies all the time.
Right. There's multiple references to doubles. He gets a hologram that's his double. And obviously, yes, that's a hologram. But you'll notice there's different layers to Arnold's psyche and who he is. So he doesn't know whether he's a mind control operative, whether he's a normie guy who's on a vacation that he bought, or whether he's actually, as we find out in the third act, been programmed all along by the corporation to be a triple agent. So there's these alters and layers to Arnold, which is imaged in the doubling, right? Hitchcock does this a lot, where he'll have doubles. Lynch has doubling and doubles a lot, and that's really just to show the division in the protagonist's psyche, that he's not sure what's real. Just like with Jacob in Jacob's Ladder, he doesn't know who he is. He's disintegrated. His psyche is not integrated; it's disintegrated and dissociated.
Through all of these techniques like trauma, ritual
Brain
abuse,
implants, yes,
implants, cybernetics, electroshock therapy, all these things were used. And then also just lies, right? And just people telling him lies about where he is, what he's doing, in order to get what they want from him. And then they tell him he's dreaming a lot. Oh, you're dreaming, it's a hallucination. And I mean,
they come to him. That's interesting, because they come to him and they say, you have schizoid embolism, and you can never know, and you don't know what's real. So you're going to have to just trust us and do what we tell you.
So yeah, I mean, what a great way to initiate an agent into an organization, completely confuse them and have them not understand who they are, what they're doing. Because look, if they get caught, who's going to believe this crazy person who's completely confused and schizophrenic? And I think this is kind of overlooked. A lot of people think of mind control, and they think just about Clockwork Orange style MK Ultra techniques, but more, I think worldview warfare is a really important concept here, and this is what's being waged on Arnold the entire time.
Yeah,
it's worldview warfare about who he is, where he's going, what his reality is all about.
You're not you. I'm you. You are not you. You are me.
Venusville. What's up with Venusville? Why do you think they call that the area with the Masonic checkerboard floor in the where all the whores are, all the hookers, and like you have like the midget
like
hookers?
The red light district with the mutant.
The red light district, they called it Venusville, and that was
Venus. That's right. Yeah. So Venus is the area. Well, it's obviously connected with the sexuality and lust and all that, and so the red light district on the planet is Venusville. Exactly. Did you notice, by the way, that there was a Hilton when he gets to Mars? He goes to the ritzy area, and he's in the Hilton. I just thought it was funny that there's a Hilton on Mars.
There's Coca-Cola and Pepsi, of course.
And then he has to eventually make his way over out of the elite area to the poor mutant area. So there's these people who have mutated from, I guess, Mars's atmosphere being, I don't know what, like radioactive or whatever. I don't remember where the mutants come from. Where are they mutants?
He just said that like he sealed the air and all the children started turning to mutants, and he didn't care. I don't think they explained it. But the mutants are psychic. They have
developed psychic powers, and of course, greater than the psychic is the third teat. The greatest of all sexual
That's
fantasies.
the most important one. Their chick with the 3 boobs.
Is the chick with and by the way, all of her teats looked fake, but that third one especially looked fake. And
she has two real fake tits and then a third fake tit.
And by the way, if you would like to contribute to me and Jamie getting Jamie a third teat, there's the super chats. I'll be putting it into a special Bitcoin hedge fund, which will accumulate over time. And we'll get Jamie that third teat that she needs and that I want. So please donate.
You need that. You need that. You deserve that, Jay. You work hard. You work really hard for this.
There's an all-seeing eye in that sequence too that pops up. I want to note.
The girl was with she has pyramid with the eye on them earrings.
I saw that. Girl. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. I noted that this is where it's really getting like the Matrix. Arnold's like Neo.
But you notice that, well, I thought it was kind of interesting that with the Masonic floor, that kind of Freemasonic floor when they're in the red light district in Venusville, right? Venus being, Lucifer, obviously, but they, from that spot, they kind of transition into the next stage of the mystery, and I think it was the antagonist, the bad character, Cohagen. That's his name.
Yeah.
Cohagen jumps through the glass, jumps through the looking glass, jumps through the window, and then it cuts to Arnold and this chick. They find this underground chamber, right? And they get into the area underneath.
Oh, it's like catacombs. Mars's catacombs. Yes.
Yes. So they go into the underworld, and they go and they seek out this esoteric knowledge in the underworld. and the underworld is full of an ancient remains of an ancient civilization.
Yes, pyramids
seemingly.
of Mars. Yes.
So the pyramids of Mars, which, I mean, back then in 1990, people were talking about the pyramids on Mars. I think it was like 1980. When did those photos come out? The first pyramids on Mars.
Well, it's
photos?
when Richard Hoagland put out that book, and that was about 1991.
Yeah. So I remember reading about this as a really young kid, and this is kind of what first got me interested in a lot of the, all the alien stuff and what's up with these
Dude,
pyramids
that
on
damn
Mars.
thing
So,
is not a face. It's the stupidest conspiracy of all time. That stupid ass
Dude,
shadow that is not
that's
like.
a
By the
fake-
way, they had
that's a-
Photoshop in 1990, so just because there's this vague looking stupid face on Mars does not mean there's literally a pyramid on Mars. It's the dumbest thing of all time.
You're denying your ancient ancestors.
I'm sorry,
man.
I don't
Come on.
believe in the Mars alien nonsense.
Your ancient Aryan ancestors were living on Mars, and they had a beautiful civilization. But yeah, I don't know what people think about.
I was
that,
at a
but-
conference one time, and a guy gave a lecture on that aliens were using nuclear war on Mars, and so that's why Mars has the atmosphere it does, is because the aliens had a nuke war there. And by the way, that is in this.
Venus.
This is about the aliens having nuclear technology, because what is the alien tech in the pyramid? Oh, they figured out how to lower these reactors into ice, and then it creates.
I love how
oxygen.
Arnold just walks in and he's like,
He just, yeah, he just
Obviously,
pushes
it's a
the
reactor.
button.
The reactor, when it lowers it down, all
Push
the
the
water
button,
melts, and the
turn the
pressure
heat
will melt,
on.
and there will be oxygen for everybody.
like
Right.
Arnold just walks in and
just
he already
slaps
knows
this button.
exactly what this is. He reverse engineers the nuclear reactor within seconds of witnessing it.
That's a great
And,
point. I didn't even think about how stupid it was. That, like, you have no idea what this gigantic thing is, but Arnold just walks in. Oh yeah, it's the reactor. You just push the button, right?
You put your hand there, and
your
it saves
hand
the
down.
planet.
And then he
The
puts
whole
his hand in
planet
like
will
an
be
alien hand,
saved.
and it's like, push it down. And then the heater comes on, and now there's air, right? It's like the air conditioning of Mars.
Yeah. So so this it's a very Gnostic film, right? Like
totally.
the Elon Musk demiurge and the revolutionary movement is going to save the planet and free all the slaves, and Arnold, of course.
Did you like the
leads
fact that I like the fact that they brought the Cohagen guy in, and he layers the scam one more level, and he's like, oh, you're actually a triple agent and you're working for me all this time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's another thing. Like, it's just if you're involved in the world of espionage, those type of tactics of switching people and just messing with their minds is it's pretty important. I think what's a good film, The Good Shepherd. You watched that one?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, that's actually based on the real origins of how the British came and set up the OSS. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And Skull and Bones is in
Skull and
there,
Bones,
and that was directed by Robert De Niro. De Niro directed
Yes.
that.
The Pyramids of Mars. The Pyramids of Mars.
So that they go into the PP mids, and inside of the PP
Pyramids.
mids are giant reactor, and the reactor. What's with the? There you go.
There's the
Look at the,
Pyramid of Mars. I turned
but
the
also-
air on.
Jay, do you notice
We
that's
can get rid of the
compass.
climate change by turning the Mars air conditioning on.
Well, you notice in the poster there. Will you show that again? Because that's the Freemasonic compass right there.
It is. That's a
and
great point.
it's the pyramid and the compass.
And then we
so-
see Arnold's single eye.
Yes, it's a very Masonic.
By the
film,
way, the
what
eye
I'm
is
getting at.
above the pyramid.
Yes. Yep. So there's a lot of Freemasonic symbolism in that Venusville area. So there's the Freemasonic checkerboard, and then when he goes, the hooker brings him into the room, and there's the pillar of Joachim and Boaz on the side there. And then she's got the pyramid earrings with the eye in the middle, and then there's 3 little dots hanging from them. So a lot of the random stuff thrown in there, but the concept of like the demiurge needing to be slain and the mutants being freed, so that they can live happily ever after, is, I guess.
Well, you've got
obvious-
these different Arnolds that he could be, these different aspects of his psyche, and he, at least as far as we know, he really was the bad guy, but actually the good alter ended up taking over, and that's how we got the good end.
Yes. So, that dualism idea.
Yeah, the hero is also the villain, but he takes over, and then we have this image of Mount Sinai. Isn't there like a giant mountain that, like, the mountain is what becomes like the vapor thing.
Starts smoking and then throwing up the vapor in
so
the
they
air.
terraform. So actually, this is similar to Dune. So they then terraform Mars completely to have an atmosphere and to colonize it. So
Yes.
then I was wondering, just kind of out of speculation at the end, do we know for sure that was? I mean, is he in the Matrix still, or are we supposed to be unclear, or is this Schwarzenegger's cat? Get it, Schwarzenegger's cat? Because is it real or is it in the Matrix?
Yeah. I think in classic Philip K. Dick style, he leaves it open.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how closely this follows the original short story, but it seems to me in the end, we're not supposed to know. And if you wrap it up too tightly, you put a little bow on it, it's not as fun, I guess, for the audience. So I think Hollywood likes to leave it open-ended like that. But remember the last line? He's like, I just had a terrible thought. What if this is a dream? And then she's like, oh, you better kiss me before you wake up. And then they make out, and that's the end. Roll credits.
By the way, people in the chat, was that story The Matrix, or was Arnold really the triple agent who did all this? I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. What is Paul Verhoeven and Arnold? What do they want us to think? Got a few super chats we'll read here. The Pyramids of Mars.
Mars. But I've never been to Mars.
Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars. Remember when the thing shorts out and it keeps saying that? Get your ass to Mars.
How about the red pill moment? Remember that he goes?
Yeah,
and the
somebody in the chat brought that up. I missed this. I missed this. What is this?
There's I'm scrolling through it right now. So he's having this conversation with that fat pedo looking dude, and the guy's trying to confuse him and tell him basically, look, what you think is going on is not going on. I'm going to save you. I'm going to help you. We need you to wake up. If you take this pill, you are going to wake up into the real reality. And he gives him a red pill, and Arnold puts it in his mouth, and the guy's like, all right, man, like, now swallow the pill. And then Arnold zooms in, and there's the bead of sweat. And Arnold knows because there's a bead of sweat. He's lying. His expert.
Yeah.
He's a lie. It's a lie.
He uses his biological what's it called, the polygraph test, and reads his sweat, and then he shoots him in the dome, and then throws the red pill on the guy's throat. And I don't know what he says to him.
Consider that a divorce.
Right.
He doesn't say that.
That's one of the best lines though in this movie for sure.
Consider that a divorce. I'll use that for a super chat notification.
By the way, in the chat, people were asking about the show. Yes, so we did a full season of a TV show called Hollywood Decoded. There is one free episode that you can go watch. If you like that show, by the way, go and tell Gaia to do another season. So you can leave a comment there. That's the free episode everybody can watch. And I loved it. It's one of the funnest things I've ever done in my life was to do that TV show. We had a blast doing it. I wrote a whole other season 2, and we never did it. So, but it's there, ready to go. I think we had Total Recall on the list to do. But yeah, you can go check out those old episodes. I think we did 19 full production TV show episodes of Hollywood Decoded. And we did do some James Cameron. I know we did Terminator. I don't think we didn't do Total Recall, but there's some other gems on there. By the way, when you were mentioning the studio or the apartment that they have and it being small, have you ever been on a set or like done a studio tour, like Warner Brothers tour or anything?
Well, they're real open. Yeah. I've seen sets. They're bigger than they look. They're actually very large.
Well, it depends. But what like if you go to Warner Brothers and like take a tour of their like their daytime TV shows, the people's apartments and like classrooms, or they're tiny, dude. They're really small. And like when we were doing our show, the set, you look, it looks like there's this big audience hall that we're in. That was just a projection. Sets are small, dude. They're like really, it'll blow your mind. They look like, you'll feel like a midget if you do a tour of a set. They're really small.
Speaking of her apartment, did you notice that she was playing like Nintendo Wii tennis? And
oh yeah, she had like a hologram Wii she was doing.
She was playing with the hologram, and that's the only other thing we see her doing when she's not directly interfering with Arnold, is playing with her fake friends' video games,
hologram,
VR reality. So that idea of VR,
Right.
the VR reality.
They had Skype too. Did you notice they were doing video teleconferencing?
Yeah, true. Yeah, they had Skype everywhere, in cars and stuff too.
Or we'll do some of these super chats. We got Shining Diamond for Zach, Zach way back at the beginning. Zach says for 20, I'm stoked to be here. Stoked to be here. Maybe the angry vegans need a good steak. Yes, they do, right? Although, ironically, Arnold is a promoter of veganism. I highly doubt that he's really vegan. But
he still says, "Oh, my favorite food is steak. I love it, but I know I should not eat it.
I shouldn't eat it. You know,
So
you feel
bad.
guilty. You do this and you
you
feel the
protein
guilt.
powder?
Or whatever, you feel the guilty. And then, but no, I have a little, I have a friend who is a donkey. And watch how I give the donkey the carrots. Remember that video where he was feeding his donkey carrots during the Corona lockdown?
Telling everybody to stay home and save lives.
Don't eat meat, stay home, eat the vegetable. It was completely dumb. But yeah, so the vegans do need a steak. Shining Diamond, $3. Will you be doing an analysis of the animated movie Ghost in the Shell and Akira? That was the only anime movie that I watched in the 90s that I liked. It was it mid to late 90s.
Yeah, Akira and Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell was good. I mean, it had a lot of that same dystopian Blade Runner mind control type stuff.
Yeah, and you already did the book that the title is referring to, Ghost in the Machine, from Kessler.
Right, exactly. And I know people have requested Neon Genesis Evangelion because it has a lot of esoteric stuff. So I promise, guys, one day I will get to it. There's so many things to cover.
When I was in the university, we had a course called Techno Thrillers, and it was in the film department. I took this course. It was a pretty decent course, but we watched Dr. Strangelove. What's the other one that came out the same year as Dr. Strangelove, but wasn't Dr. Strangelove? It was more of a serious version of the Dr. Strangelove story. Somebody in the audience might know.
By Kubrick or somebody else?
No, it's not Kubrick. It's like Failsafe or something. It was called Failsafe.
Oh, where they have like a big computer that is like an AI computer? Yeah, I've seen that. It's a boring movie.
It's like Strangelove, but it's not as good.
Yeah.
So we watched that. We watched the Will Smith movie, Enemy of the State, and then also Ghost in the Shell and North by Northwest. Anyways, the instructor was pretty based for that time. This was 2006 or 7, I think, and he was really harping on about the this whole technocracy thing that we see coming on now, and all the films. We watched Blade Runner as well, but all the films were very similar to the stuff we're talking about here. So shout out to, I forget the professor's name.
Have you seen the Demon Seed?
I've seen like screenshots or something. I don't think
I did a 10-minute funny breakdown of it.
That's what I saw. I saw your video.
It's worth watching. It's actually an AI that kind of wants to incarnate the Antichrist. It's pretty wild.
Okay.
And it's funny. It's like one of those funny.
What about Arnold? Is it like End of Days or something? I don't think I watched that one, but I know he did.
End of Days is another Arnold hoot. It's a hoot.
He's still totally jacking that, or is it
it's basically Arnold beating the devil. It's ridiculous.
There's something that Arnold, early 90s Arnold and 80s Arnold is always funner to watch. There's just something that's like funner, like when he's just freakishly jacked. I don't know, but later on Arnold, when he deflates, for some reason it's not as entertaining when he isn't like a freaking freak.
Low energy Arnold, low energy. When he deflates, he's low energy. Where are we at?
Arnold's done, man. Arnold hasn't done anything in a while.
No, that last Terminator was awful. He played Carl the Cuck, who was a blinds, like he sold blinds.
Yeah. Hey, somebody mentioned one of the best mind control movies. That's Zoolander. Zoolander is a classic.
Yes, I need to add that to the. I got a list of about 30 mind controls to do.
I'd say that Zoolander is probably one of my favorite stupid comedy movies as like a kid. I think I was like 13 or 14 when that came out. 15. That was funny as hell, man.
I have resting face blue steel.
Yeah, you do. I love it. Hansel, when he's telling his story about peyote, he's telling his trip report.
Yeah.
It's like-
Yeah.
And then I realized I've never even been to Mount Vesuvius. I've never even been there. I find myself falling. Oh yeah. Did you see the second Zoolander?
Yeah, I actually thought it was good.
It was pretty funny, and it wasn't.
And it had the whole like Hollywood MK Ultra satanic cult.
Yes, yeah, and Kyle Mooney was in it, who used to be really funny until Saturday Night Live destroyed his career. Him and Beck Bennett were freaking hilarious, dude. They were like the original YouTube comedy.
Yeah, they
you guys
were
look up
SoCal,
Kyle.
Inside SoCal. That's cool.
Inside SoCal, exactly.
Inside
Inside SoCal. Those
bro,
were the
was hot.
funniest skits, man. And then his stoner skits, where he's like a pothead.
He's
who
a
doesn't
pothead
really
who's always
smoke
talking
pot.
about weed. Yeah, that one's great.
But he doesn't really smoke weed, and he just tries to act like he's cool. And those skits are so funny.
uses all the
And then
lingo,
SNL got a hold of him and ruined his career. And what is he doing now?
I mean, there are some of his skits on SNL that are good. They're not all
I haven't
that,
watched it
but
in 5 years. Beck Bennett was funny too, man.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they just got him. They just made him play Putin with his shirt off, and that's supposed. I don't know.
All right, so the next super chat is in Christ our Lord, $20. Great work for you too. Question for Little Aids. What are some of the Orthodox books that you've read, Little Aids? And for both of you, out of 10, how would you rate both of these movies? So first question to you, Tristan, is what are some of the Orthodox books that you read that you liked?
All right. I've got a few right here that I would say I recommend. Well, I haven't read every page of St. John of Damascus, but St. John of Damascus, very good. The Seraphim Rose, the first one I read was God's Revelation of the Human Heart. And then after that, I read Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future, and then Genesis, Creation, and Early Man. And that was what convinced me essentially to become Orthodox. So I read those. And then also Orthodox Dogmatic Theology is another good one. What was the book that Father Raphael gave us about? Wounded by Love. Wounded by Love is another really good one. Jessica and the kids have read, but I didn't read it with them. St. John the Wonder Worker. Those all recommended. What else?
I've never read a bad one.
Yeah, no, there's nothing that well, some of them are St. Maximus, the Confessor, was a little bit like heavier and a little bit more difficult, but I really enjoyed that. And then also there's another one, Losky. What was the Losky book? 2 Losky books, and both of those were great.
Theology.
Yes, mystical theology of the Eastern Church. Is that what it was? Mystical theology of the Eastern Church. You know, I mean, those were good. Those were heavy. I read them about a year and a half ago. There they are. Yeah. So that book right there took me about a month to read because there was just so much. I had to do more research while I was reading it to catch up on some of the themes. But that cleared up a lot for me. But I mean, I couldn't sit here and summarize it for you because it was a year and a half ago that I read it. But,
that's cool.
On
a 1 to 10 scale, what do you give Jacob's Ladder and Total Recall?
Jacob's Ladder 1 to 10, I give it like 6.5 DMT hits. Total Recall, I give it 9 out of 10 Sharon Stone kicks to Arnold Schwarzenegger's testicles.
I would give both movies a 7. I'm going to say they're both 7. They're different. They both have similar themes with the mind control and the psyche and all that. But
when I give Total Recall a 9, it's not like it's a great film. It's just so entertaining and stupid that it's
just as a film overall, it gets a 7. But for entertainment, I would agree with Tristan that it's a 9. It's a hoot. It's a hoot.
You can rewatch it and laugh. It's like a good movie if you, I don't know, it's just if you want to laugh with some friends. It's a great movie to watch.
Jacob's Ladder is not a movie you're gonna rewatch. It's not a fun movie.
Yeah.
Alt Monarchist for $2. Review Stalker. Yes, I know. I got to do Tarkovsky. I actually wrote a bunch of notes on Rublev, and then I got to where I was about to do Stalker, and something happened. So I apologize. I know that I'm really slacking by not doing that, but we will eventually. Just like the other requests. There's some big ones I've not done. I know it's a big empty spot in my film repertoire. Jerry Dingus, we got Mr. Dingus here. Bigots and Nerds, a match made in Ontic Wilderness. We do live in an Ontic Wilderness, and this is a match made in the heaven of Ontic Wilderness. That's the bigots together with the nerds. Absolutely.
There's a lot of overlap.
Nerdy
I think
bigots.
there's a lot more nerds right now, though. I gotta say, you got 438. Every once in a while, we'll pull in 438, but only if there's someone else coming on the stream. We're in that 200 range, and YouTube's trying to get us in the 0 range as soon as possible. But yeah,
everybody be sure to go support Tristan. Subscribe if you're not subscribed over at Primal Edge. I've got his link there in the show description, so be sure and hook up with Tristan. Jack for $3 says, if I can affect the way people think and feel by what I think and feel, is it because of demons? Do I need to see a priest or do prayers often? No, I mean, you could just have a persuasive personality that affects the way people think and feel. That doesn't necessarily have to be demonic. Do I need to see a priest or do prayers often? I would say do both. How's that? Bounteous, an Orthodox priest, by the way, not a Roman Catholic priest.
Anyways,
not a Roman priest, an Orthodox priest. Bounteous, $5. Did you notice the red pill? Yes, thank you. Tristan brought up the red pill that the recall guy offers to Arnie. Carnivore Alliance, $6.50. One of Tristan's bigots in the chat. Maybe off topic, but picnic at Hanging Rock. I think the secret to it is some carnivorous plant hermaphrodite, Venus, Satan, UFO. Okay, dude, you lost me there. You went off into
Carnivore Alliance is always coming with the the like.
I'm
mystified. With like, what did they call that back in the day? Remember that channel?
Is it Stream of Consciousness? Streamlabs?
Synchro Mysticism. Remember those channels? 2009,
yes. Synchro Mystic. Yes, Lauren Coleman, the Synchro Mystic. Yep.
Yeah, he's kind of like that. He's cool. When you talk to him, he's more coherent. But he likes to he goes into the. I think it's got a wild imagination.
Stream of consciousness going on in the chat, so we welcome that. You can send $6.50 stream of consciousness all day long. I will listen. Janie Sophia,
$20. Rocks a movie. He says picnic and Hanging Rocks a movie. Okay, there you go.
I got that. It's the rest of it where I was lost, but. Janie Sophia, $20. Apologies if you've already covered this, but Jacob's Ladder had Toll House. Yes, we covered Soul After Death, the Sir from Rose book in relation to Jacob's Ladder.
Oh, yeah, I read that book too.
Along the right track there, Janie.
To the person who asked, I also read that book, and I would recommend that one too. That's a really good one. I've recommended that to several people. I think it is very useful.
And thank you for that fat super chat, 20 whole bucks.
Woo.
Appreciate that. Delbridge for $5. Jay and Tristan, how are you? I'm great. How are you, Del?
I'm better than Jay.
Is it possible that you could better at being worse? Yes, you are better at being worse than me. Totally. Is it possible that both of you could review Kurt Vonnegut's Harrison Bergeron film and in time starring Justin? Wait.
Oh, you told me to watch. You told me last night to watch that In Time, Justin Timberlake.
Well, I've seen In Time with Amanda Seyfried and Justin Timberlake. That's a good dystopian movie. But Kurt Vonnegut's Harrison Bergeron film. Okay, no, I'm not familiar with that one. In Time is good. It is a dystopia that you could do an analysis of. Yes. Lastly, God bless both of you. Well, thank you, Del Bridge. Much appreciated. What a total spaz, right? Speaking of 1990s, I mean, these are two 90s movies. That's a great 90s slang. You're such a spaz.
Why are you such a spaz? Dude, we should do a Pauly Shore movie.
That was the 90s Spurg, is a spaz. Right?
Spaz, for sure, yeah.
The 90s version of a Spurg nowadays was a spaz.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
There's a deep insight, Jay. I appreciate that. I just wrote that down. Thank you.
Well, I'm full of those, so
I know.
Keep a notebook handy because you can just transcribe for me. You could be a little secretary. That'd work good for you.
I'd be honored to be your little secretary, Jay. I really like the way you said that. It makes me feel very
little
empowered.
aides, little secretary, little aides, little secretary. You could just transcribe the proverbs all day long. All right. We're having fun, but his name is Tristan, and he is the head honcho over at veganalliance.com. Just kidding. The head honcho over at Primal Edge Health. You can follow him by clicking the channel in the show description that is called Primal Edge Health, and he would love to have you. He's been doing some really funny streams. He's doing a call-in thing. I want to ask you, I tried the call-in thing a couple times. It kind of got on my nerves. Are you having fun with call-ins?
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite. I did call-ins like a few years back when YouTube first came out, but it was like I was more careful. But now, yeah, I open up the Zoom and it's fun, man. I mean, we get friendlies. Like I don't know. I just like talking to people, man. I can talk to anybody. I can talk with anyone. So I invite anybody if you want to chat or if you just want to debate. I keep trying to get these vegans to come and debate, but none of them will. So
because you're a psychopath. You're a psychopath. You're just going to gaslight and mute us.
I mean, she's even welcome to call in, but she won't. These people, they like to throw their stones from a distance. Jay, before we end, I wanted to ask you: have you gotten this book yet?
No, everybody said I need to get it though.
Okay, I'll send you the It's Klaus's new book.
Okay.
It's just published like last or 2 months ago, maybe. The Great COVID-19, The Great Reset. I'll send you the PDF.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I need to check that one out.
It's very blatant. It's right.
Yeah, so it's going to tell us the whole spiel. We got another super chat, $3 from Julio. He says Chainlink crypto is to the moon. I'll have to check that out, but except I don't want to go to the moon. I want to go to Mars. Get your crypto to Mars. We don't want to go to the moon.
You notice like the only 3 planets they mentioned was Mars, Venus, and Saturn in the film.
Get your ass to Mars.
They kept saying you should go to Saturn instead. Saturn's
so yeah, I had a Saturn note. Good point. Thank you. Forgot that. All right, everybody have a good night. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Be sure and like it, share it, comment below if I missed anything. We always have good comments from the movie audience telling me the details that I missed, and we look forward to the next stream. We'll be doing some Psychonaut stuff, and I'll be doing more Spooktober. I'm sure Tristan and I can come up with some more mind control and spooky films.
We got Clockwork Orange on the list. I mean, we mentioned also that Philip K. Dick one, Scanner Darkly.
And does have a lot of Scanner Darkly. Yeah, we'll do some more MKs for sure. Yeah. All right, dude. Have a good night.
Well, maybe Jay, you can come on and we can do